Good morning, everyone. So today we will be discussing the concept of virtual memory. This is just a brief introduction to what virtual memory is. We will not go into depth. So let's start off with the basics of memory hierarchy in your computer system. So as we know, there are different levels of hierarchy in your computer system when it comes to memory. Right. The first one is your register, then your cache. Can anyone tell me what this is? Yeah, RAM, and finally the hard disk. Now, the more you go this side, you will get better speed, and the more you go this side, you will get more space. I hope everyone is clear with the basics. Okay. So, say you are currently working with 10 GB of data. Your RAM has a capacity of 8 GB, right? So the remaining 2 GB of data will be stored in your hard disk. Because you want to work with 10 GB of data right now, every time you want to access this remaining data, the OS will have to go to the hard disk, fetch the data, get it to your RAM, and only then you'll be able to access it, correct? So what happens is, it would have helped if you had 10 GB of RAM, but since you don't, every time you need to access this set of data, there will be some additional delay, some additional cost, because the OS will have to fetch that data from the hard disk. And this will keep on happening because you are using 10 GB. So there will always be some 2 GB that will go out and this that will come in. So you will have to keep, the OS will have to keep going to the hard disk to fetch the data, and it will keep happening. So you'll keep having some delays. So virtual memory is a concept where the OS gives you a feeling that you actually have 10 GB of RAM. So how does that do this? It looks at your access patterns for this 8 GB that you have in your RAM right now, and it figures out what data you will not be needing for some time and what data you will be needing, right? So it figures out that this 2 GB is something you will be using in the next 1 minute, and there are some other 2 GB of data here that you may not be using for the next few minutes. So what it does is it swaps this out and it swaps this in before you need to access this. So the effect here is that when you try to access the remaining 2 GB that was not in your RAM, by the time you try to access it, it is already in the RAM. So that gives you a feeling that you can actually store 10 GB in your RAM, because anytime you want to access any data out of the 10 GB that you are working with currently, you will find it in the RAM already, right? So that gives you the feeling that you have 10 GB of RAM. So let's make this more concrete with an analogy. Suppose you're in a library and you're writing a research paper. You have a desk and you have kept 10 books on your desk, 10 reference books, but you actually need 13 reference books. And the desk can only store 10, so you have kept only 10. But if you want another book, then you will have to ask the librarian to go to the library, search for the book, fetch that book, and get it to your desk. And you will have to swap it out with some book that is already on your desk. So what you do is you start with 10 books, and the librarian is actually observing how you use the books. So she sees, for example, that you are going in sequential order. You're going with book 1, 2, 3, then you enter 10, then you need 11, 12, 13, and then you'll come back to 1. So when you are at book 8, after you're done with book 8, she notices that she can swap out book 8 with book 11, because you will not be needing book 8 until you finish all the other books. So after you're done with book 8, just after you're done with book 8, say she takes it out and she keeps book 11 in its place. Then after you're done with book 9, she keeps book 12 in its place. And after you're done with book 10, she keeps book 13 in its place. So after the 10th book, you want the 11th book. And the 11th book is already in the place of the 8th book. So you don't have to get up and go, or you don't have to ask the librarian to fetch it for you. You already find it on your desk. Then you finish 11, 12, 13. Then you come back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And by the time you need the 8th book again, the librarian would have swapped some other book in with some other book out and the 8th book in. So ultimately, you don't have to get up at all. Whenever you want any of your 13 books, you find that on your desk already. So you get the feeling that your desk can accommodate 13 books, whereas it can actually only accommodate 10 books, and the librarian is just swapping books in and out based on your usage patterns. So that is what the concept of virtual memory is. Ultimately, you have some space, but the OS is predicting your usage patterns and giving you the feeling that you have more space, more RAM than you actually do. So that is the concept of virtual memory. Anyone has any questions? Thank you.